Depression. Unemployment was intense. My mother was 7 years old when the Catholic Worker movement started, and Dorothy was trying to give voice to the people on the street who were unemployed, on strike, suffering greatly from the economic times. And it did start with a newspaper and then progressed into a soup line. And she never took credit for anything. She called Peter Warren the founder of the movement. But she was in charge of the paper, and her vocation was a journalist and a newspaper person. Her father was a newspaper people. And so she took charge of the newspaper, but she always gave credit to the guys who showed up to help out with starting the soup line. They just, offered a cup of coffee, offered hospitality through just sitting and visiting and listening to people. And I think, in my experience at Mary House, it's great to give showers, and it's great to give clothes, and it's great to give food, but what people are really, really hungering for is simple human companionship. And I certainly need to do more of that. I find myself being the Martha. I do have a sister named Mary, and Dorothy did accuse me when I was 16 years old of being too much like Martha and needing to be more contemplative like Mary. And I do find myself at the Catholic Worker being more of a worker. So I have to remind myself to just simply sit and be with people and look them in the eye and listen to them, because that's what most of us want and need. I want to share with you some of the Catholic Worker philosophy that I think is most important. And the history can be read about in terms of all the various houses, where the locations were, how it sort of spread across the country. And it took a big hit in World War II because the population was very divided. World War II being the good war, the just war. And the movement took, there was a big decline in the newspaper circulation at that time. So there have been, ebbs and flows with the movement. And I would say right now, today, it's going very fast, and it's growing. It's receiving good support. People are inspired to do the work, and the need is just all the more greater. And I will read something to you from something Dorothy wrote in 1948. Sadly enough, it's still completely relevant and applicable. But the Catholic Worker philosophy, the things that I think are important to stress, and frankly have other ideas about what this is. But the Catholic Worker, it was born out of crisis. And Dorothy always talked about finding beauty in desolation. She was an avid reader of the Russian authors. And find beauty, i.e. God, in tragedy. So Peter's program of action in the face of the crisis of the day, a crisis that has continued these last 14 years, this is 1947, I can say these last nearly 80 years that the movement has been happening, through a Great Depression and a war, and remains the same now as it did when we first met back in 1933. So the first point that Peter made was to reach the man on the street with the social teachings of the Catholic Church. And let's remember the social teachings. Let's go back to those social teachings to remind ourselves of, the roots of our Catholic faith with our Mother Church. The second point, to reach the people through the practice of the corporal and spiritual works of mercy at a personal sacrifice, which means voluntary poverty. And that is a whole other study unto itself, going from theory to practice in our own personal lives. Number 3, to build up a lay apostolate through roundtable discussions for the clarification of thought. And I consider this discussion here to be a dialogue. It's very important to dialogue and to continue to clarify our thoughts. Number 4, to found houses of hospitality for the practice of the works of mercy, and that's where you get to be in school. The University of the Catholic Worker is where you learn about yourself. That's where you learn about your own internal imperialistic urges and how you're going to respond to them and how you're going to look at the poor. And the 5th point, to found farming communes for the cure of unemployment. There's never unemployment on the land. To solve the problem of the machine for the restoration of property and the resisting of the servile state. For the building up of the family, the original community, the first unit of society. And so we do have a Catholic worker farm. We have Mary House in St. Joe's in Lower Manhattan, and also the farm out in Marlborough, New York, where food is grown for the soup line. And I just have to share with you this other list of what Catholic workers believe, or what the Catholic worker believes. The Catholic worker believes in the gentle personalism of traditional Catholicism. The Catholic worker believes in the personal obligation of looking after the needs of our brothers and sisters. The Catholic worker believes in the daily practice of the works of mercy. The Catholic worker believes in houses of hospitality for the immediate needs of those who are in need. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Don't wait for the state to do it. The Catholic worker believes in the establishment of farming communes where each one works according to their ability and receives according to their need. The Catholic worker believes in creating a new society within the shell of the old, with the philosophy of the new, which is not a new philosophy, but a very old philosophy. A philosophy that is so old that it looks like new. And those are the words of Peter Moore. He wrote something called Easy Essays. And his life story is a whole other story, and I would absolutely encourage you to research Peter Moore and his life. He was a French peasant, one of 20 children, who emigrated to Canada. So that is the basic philosophical underpinnings of the Catholic worker movement. And just to clarify on that a little bit, I want to go into some of the quotes that I grew up with that really